The night King Von died, was it really just another tragic street shootout? Or was it something far darker? A sacrifice signed in blood? Fans thought the story was simple. Gunshots, chaos, end of a rising star. But leaked whispers, anonymous receipts, and suspicious moves from none other than Lil Durk are ripping the cover off what might be hip-hop's biggest betrayal yet. Ask yourself, why do so many accidents in this industry feel like copy-paste rituals? Why was Von surrounded by chaos the very week he allegedly refused a mysterious multi-million-dollar deal? And why does every trail of suspicion circle back to the same name? Coincidence or contract? Tonight, we're diving into the forbidden side of this story. The side the industry swore you would never hear. From hidden calls to fake smiles on stage, from sacrifice theories buried online, to so-called proof that Von never really died at all. This isn't just gossip, this is a ticking time bomb, so buckle up. Because once we lay down the receipts, you'll never look at Von's death or Durk's silence the same way again. When King Von's story is told in public, people think of it as another sad chapter in rap history. A rising star gunned down, a community left grieving, and the cycle of violence repeated like a broken record. But the streets whisper a different tale. They say, Von didn't just die. They say he was chosen for something darker, something bigger, something that carried the stench of betrayal, blood, and sacrifice. And if you trace the footsteps leading up to that fateful night, every single one seems to circle around one man, Lil Durk. Now here's where it gets sinister. Von wasn't just Durk's homie, his right-hand man, his partner in crime and music. He was also his biggest threat. Von's storytelling, his raw presence, his growing cult following, it wasn't just catching the fans' eyes, it was catching the industry's. And in an industry where money talks louder than loyalty, Von was stepping into territory Durk had already staked out for himself. Imagine the tension of two brothers, smiling for the cameras, but privately battling for the same throne. That's not friendship, that's chess. Anonymous insiders claim that in the weeks before Von's death, there were closed-door meetings happening in Atlanta. Von had allegedly turned down a multi-million-dollar contract that tied him deeper into industry control. A contract that Durk, on the other hand, had already signed. The kind of contract where once you're in, you play by their rules or you get played. Think about it. Von refusing meant he wasn't just protecting himself, he was exposing the whole system. And in an industry obsessed with silence, that's the kind of move that makes you disposable. Fans never forgot how Durk handled himself after Von's death. Instead of breaking down, instead of standing in front of cameras with real grief, he went quiet, too quiet, and when he did reappear, it was with music that somehow skyrocketed his career even higher. Streams surged, contracts doubled, and suddenly Durk was in the spotlight like never before. You mean to tell me this is coincidence? Von's death, tragic as it was, became the fuel that boosted Durk into a higher orbit. That's not luck, that's leverage. But let's rewind, because the nights leading up to Von's shooting paint an even stranger picture. There are alleged text messages between Von and close associates where he expressed paranoia. He told one friend, "They watching me. Bro, it's bigger than the ops." Another supposed message said, "If something happens, just know I didn't fold." These cryptic words have been passed around like ghost stories in the rap community, and while nobody has ever confirmed them publicly, the timing is too perfect, too chilling to ignore. The night of his death itself feels staged. Think about the sheer convenience, cameras everywhere, yet the footage released to the public shows fragments, pieces, angles that don't answer questions but raise new ones. The fight, the shots, the confusion, it looks less like an accident and more like a scene carefully orchestrated. And who benefits from chaos? Always the one who walks away untouched. Always the one who's suddenly richer, bigger, safer. Some even go as far as to suggest that police reports were tampered with, that certain names were deliberately left out, that officers who responded that night were given strict instructions on what could and couldn't make it into the final paperwork. It's almost as if someone wanted Von's story tied up neatly, presented as a random street beef, instead of letting people dig deeper, because deeper means questions, and questions mean fingers pointing in dangerous directions. Then there's the strange case of Von's so-called final recordings. Rumors say he had tracks that spoke directly about betrayal, about loyalty being tested, about sacrifices demanded by the very people he called family. Tracks that never saw the light of day. Where did they go? Why were they shelved? And why, after his death, did Durk seem to inherit not just Von's audience but also his momentum. Durk's defenders will argue that grief hits everyone differently, that his silence was mourning, not guilt. But the patterns don't lie. Too many people have gotten rich off death in this industry. Too many artists suddenly become legends, their streams multiplying overnight, while the ones closest to them somehow find themselves with a fatter wallet and a fatter contract. The question is not whether Durk loved Von. The question is whether love was enough to stand in the way of opportunity. And in this game, opportunity wins every time. The sacrifice theory doesn't just come from nowhere. Hip-hop history is littered with names that rose after others fell. Tupac and Biggie, XXXTentacion, Nipsey Hussle, their deaths weren't just tragedies, they were market shifts. And every time, someone close enough to cry the loudest also seemed to climb the highest. Are we really supposed to believe that Von's case is any different? And here's where the story twists again. Because as much as the world mourned, as much as Durk's star rose, there were sightings. Blurry, shaky videos uploaded by random accounts. Clips of a man who looked like Von, moving through airports, sitting in the back of black SUVs, even seen ducking into private studios. The videos never lasted long. They'd vanish after a few hours. Accounts deleted. Comments flooded with confusion. But for those who saw them, the question burned brighter. Was Von really gone? Or was his death the perfect cover-up for something far stranger? Durk's name keeps surfacing in these whispers. Some say he knows more than he's telling. Some say he's protecting an empire that thrives on silence and shadows. And some even claim that Von's so-called sacrifice wasn't about ending him, but about transforming him, hiding him away, while Durk played his role as the public face of their pact. By now, the lines between truth and myth blur. But that's exactly how the system wants it. Confusion keeps people from digging too deep. Confusion keeps the players safe. And if you've been paying attention, confusion is exactly what surrounded Von's final night. Too many holes, too many coincidences, too much to swallow as random chance. Because here's the brutal reality. Every time a rapper dies young, the industry cashes in. Von's death was not just a tragedy, it was a payday. And when paydays this big are involved, someone always pulls the strings. Whether Durk was just a pawn or the mastermind, the fact remains, the timing, the silence, the rise, it all fits too neatly. But the real shock isn't just that Von may have been sacrificed. The real shock is the possibility that he's not dead at all. And if that's true, if Von is out there somewhere, hidden, watching this circus unfold, then the betrayal runs deeper than anyone imagined. Because that would mean his closest ally, Lil Durk, played the role of both executioner and protector. A twisted double act designed to fool the world. And it's here, right at the edge of these whispers, that the story refuses to sit still. Because the next piece of evidence, the next leak, the next insider confession, it could shatter the narrative entirely. And when you hear what came next, when you see the receipts that supposedly prove Von's sacrifice, you'll realize this was never just about a death. It was about power, profit, and survival. And that's exactly where the story turns darker. The story turns darker because once you scratch the surface, the so-called sacrifice doesn't look like a wild theory anymore. It starts to resemble a carefully orchestrated operation. And if you believe the leaked conversations floating around, King Von himself sensed the storm long before it swallowed him. One alleged voice memo, reportedly pulled from Von's private phone, has been whispered about by anonymous blogs. In the muffled audio, you can hear Von say, "They setting me up, bro. I can feel it. It's not just ops, it's bigger than that." Was this paranoia, or was it the chilling foresight of a man who knew his name was already on the chopping block, and who stood closest to him in those days? Lil Durk, the man who went from Von's protector to his most suspicious shadow. Fans began digging up old interviews where Durk smiled when asked about Von, but his words carried a strange edge. One clip shows him saying, "We in this together, until the end." At the time, it sounded like loyalty. Now, it feels like foreshadowing. Loyalty. Now, it feels like foreshadowing. What's worse, there are reports that Durk had secured a massive financial deal just weeks before Von's passing. A deal that insiders say came with strange stipulations: deliver certain numbers, maintain industry loyalty, and remove liabilities. Guess who was being labeled a liability? The same man refusing to bow to contracts, refusing to compromise his art, refusing to let the machine own him. King Von. The public reactions after Von's death paint an even stranger picture. Instead of a united hip-hop community grieving, What we saw was division. Some rappers mourned loudly, posting Von's face everywhere. Others, silent, too silent, like they knew speaking out might expose the wrong names. Even fans caught the vibe. Comment sections flooded with questions. Why Durk so quiet? Where's the outrage? Why is his music dropping right now instead of pausing? Anonymous social media accounts claiming to be insiders leaked more fuel to the fire. One account posted alleged screenshots of industry group chats, where executives casually discussed Von's death like it was part of a rollout. Messages like, "Sad but business goes on." Another line read, "Durk, gotta carry it now." If real, these messages show us a world where death isn't tragedy, it's strategy. Even more suspicious are the alleged police connections. A whistleblower supposedly leaked a partial police report that night. Names were blacked out, times were inconsistent, and critical details just didn't line up. Witnesses described seeing men in unmarked cars watching the chaos before the shots even rang out. Who were they? Why was that detail erased from the official narrative? It's as if someone wanted Von's death to be chaos without clarity, and chaos, once again, always benefits the ones in control. Then comes the wildest twist of all the sightings. Fans swear they saw Von after his death. One viral TikTok showed a man with the same build, tattoos blurred under a hoodie, walking through an airport in Houston. The video racked up millions of views before disappearing mysteriously. Another clip popped up from a gas station security camera, where a Von lookalike was spotted climbing into a black SUV. Could it be mistaken identity? Or was the sacrifice staged, with Von hidden away while the public was sold a tragedy? Durk's role in all this becomes even murkier when you realize how his career trajectory changed overnight. His numbers didn't just rise, they exploded. Collaborations with top-tier artists, award nominations, mainstream love. It's almost as if Von's death cleared the path for Durk to finally claim the spotlight without competition. Too convenient, too clean, too suspicious. But the alleged proof doesn't stop there. A supposed leaked phone call between an unnamed industry executive and a confidant suggested that Von's death was handled. In the call, the executive says, "Durk knows what he had to do. We gave him the push." The recording, of course, can't be verified. But it spread across underground blogs like wildfire, fueling the narrative that this wasn't just violence, it was business. And then there are the fans themselves. They've become the true investigators in this saga. YouTube channels dedicated to dissecting every frame of the shooting footage, Reddit threads compiling every inconsistency in Durk's statements, Twitter threads exposing old lyrics that now sound like confessions. One line from Durk's track had fans buzzing, "Lost my brother, but I had to move smarter." To some, it was grief. To others, it was an admission that Von's loss was part of the plan. The sacrifice theory only grows when you connect it to a broader pattern. Von isn't the first. He won't be the last. Every few years, a rising star falls, and another one close to them rises. The cycle is too perfect, too predictable. Is this coincidence, or a blood-stained formula the industry has been running for decades? Fans don't buy coincidence anymore. They buy conspiracy. Still, the whispers about Von being alive refuse to die, and here's where the betrayal cuts deepest. If Von is alive, hidden away, then Durk's betrayal is twofold. First, by selling out his brother to the industry, and second, by playing along with the lie, letting the world mourn while Von watches from the shadows. Imagine the power in that arrangement. Imagine the leverage. And what if the sightings aren't mistakes? What if the blurry airport clip, the SUV footage, the whispers of secret studio sessions are real? Then the sacrifice wasn't death, it was transformation. Von's name became legend, Durk became the face, and the industry kept its grip. Everybody wins, except the fans who still cry over a grave that may or may not even be real. But this is where the consequences start to take shape, because if even a shred of this is true, if Durk played a role in Von's disappearance, whether death or deception, then the walls could come crashing down. Investigations, lawsuits, industry scandals waiting to explode. The streets are already buzzing with threats of truth coming out. Anonymous sources claim there are tapes, hard drives, and files waiting to be leaked. Files that show who orchestrated the sacrifice, who signed off on it, and who cashed in. And if those files ever surface, it won't just be Durk's career on the line. It will be the entire machine that fed off Von's blood or his shadow. Because once fans see how deep the betrayal goes, the backlash won't be controllable. The question is, will those files see daylight, or will they vanish, like every other piece of proof, buried before the truth can explode? And that's where this story reaches the breaking point, because the next chapter isn't just about whispers and rumors, it's about consequences, legal threats, power struggles, and the terrifying possibility that the people who know too much might already be in danger. Because when sacrifices are exposed, the ones who speak first often don't get to speak twice. Once the whispers turn into evidence, the game changes. Sacrifice theories and betrayal rumors are entertaining when they're just gossip. But when screenshots, recordings, and supposed files begin leaking, people start demanding answers. And in King Von's case, the cracks in the story are now too big to plaster over. Anonymous insiders are claiming that law enforcement already has eyes on the situation, not because they care about Von, but because the money trail has gotten sloppy. Von's death, staged or not, seems to have triggered a chain of suspicious financial movements, big deposits into shell accounts, sudden property purchases under anonymous LLCs, and royalty payouts redirected to management teams nobody can identify. And who's connected to these transactions? The same small circle orbiting around Lil Durk. Rumors swirl of an upcoming investigation. Imagine the headlines: hip-hop sacrifice scandal under federal review. If even a fraction of this becomes public, it won't just be Durk in trouble, it'll be the whole empire. And here's the irony. The louder fans scream for justice, the quieter the industry becomes. Nobody speaks. Nobody risks their position. Silence is loyalty, and silence is also fear. But the streets aren't silent. Von's own people, old friends, distant relatives, even neighborhood voices have started piecing things together. In interviews, you'll catch the occasional slip. Someone saying Von knew too much. Someone else hinting that Von had been warned to keep quiet. A few even whispered that Von's own death was rehearsed. Yes, rehearsed before it happened. As insane as it sounds, some believe there were test runs, gatherings where scenarios were discussed. Who would be there? How chaos would unfold? Who would disappear in the confusion? A playbook for a tragedy disguised as a brawl. And while all this swirls, Durk thrives. His tours sell out. His albums hit charts. His streams break records. Yet the shadow of Von follows him everywhere. Fans hold up posters at concerts. Where's Von? Sacrifice. Explain yourself, Durk. Clips go viral of Durk freezing mid-performance when someone in the crowd screams Von's name. The guilt isn't said out loud, but the body language speaks volumes. What about the legal side? If investigations heat up, the possible fallout is nuclear. Imagine subpoenas hitting record labels. Imagine executives being dragged into court. Imagine Durk sitting in front of cameras, lawyers by his side, swearing he knew nothing, while leaked files say otherwise. The justice system moves slowly, but the court of public opinion, that one moves lightning fast. And right now, the public is restless. Then comes the darker angle, the idea that anyone trying to expose the truth won't survive long enough to tell it. One anonymous blogger claimed they had the proof Von's death was staged. 2 weeks later, the blog was gone. Accounts deleted. No explanation. Another YouTuber who uploaded Von is alive. Clips suddenly vanished from social media. Coincidence or cleanup? When billions in industry profit are on the line, loose ends don't last long. The most chilling leak of all came in the form of an alleged audio tape. In it, a voice that fans swear sounds like Von can be heard laughing and saying, "They think I'm gone." That's the funny part. Whether it's authentic or a clever fake, it lit the internet on fire. If real, it means Von isn't just alive, he's watching. And if he's watching, then the betrayal by his so-called brother is deeper than anyone imagined, because that would mean Durk played along, letting the world bury a man who never left. And that's the cruelest twist of all. If Von truly lives, his silence is forced, either hidden away by those who profit from his name, or complicit in a pact too dangerous to break. A sacrifice doesn't always mean death. Sometimes it means erasure. Sometimes it means vanishing into the shadows while someone else reaps the rewards. Fans are left in torment. Half believe Von is gone forever. Half cling to the sightings, the audios, the blurred videos. All of them demand answers that never come. And Durk, he smiles, he performs, he wins awards, but the ghost of King Von haunts every stage, every lyric, every glance over his shoulder. Because whether Von is dead or alive, one truth remains: the betrayal is permanent. And here's the final sting. If the files leak, if the receipts truly come out, it won't just expose Durk. It'll prove that Von's death was never about the streets. It was about money, power, and the cold, calculated machine that sacrifices its own to survive. If Von's alive, it proves the lie. If Von's dead, it proves the betrayal. Either way, the industry is guilty, so where does this end? With justice, or with silence? With Von rising from the shadows, or with fans forever chasing ghosts? Nobody knows. And maybe that's the point. The longer the truth stays blurred, the safer the players remain. But whispers don't die, they multiply, and one day, the truth always leaks. Until then, all we're left with is suspicion, betrayal, and the burning question that no amount of silence can kill. Was King Von sacrificed by the very brother who claimed to love him? Or is he alive, hidden, laughing at the world while we fight over his memory? The receipts are out there, and when they surface, everything you thought you knew about King Von, Lil Durk, and the industry itself will never be the same again. So now the question is yours. Was King Von truly taken from us in a bloody sacrifice, or was the entire tragedy a staged performance that the world blindly accepted? Did Lil Durk betray his closest brother for the price of fame, or is he simply caught in a web of conspiracies too dark to escape? And the most chilling question of all, what if Von is still alive, hidden away, watching as the world mourns him, while his name continues to make millions for the very machine he resisted? Think about it. The timing, the money, the silence, the sightings, none of it adds up cleanly. And yet, the industry feeds us a story that we're expected to swallow without doubt. But here on Spillera, we don't swallow lies. We rip them open, piece by piece, and show you the dirt that others are too afraid to touch. So what do you believe? Was Von sacrificed to push Durk to the top? Was his death the biggest cover-up hip-hop has ever seen? Or is the truth even darker than we imagine? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your voice matters in uncovering what the industry once buried. And if you think tonight's story shook you, just wait. The next leak, the next whisper, the next scandal, it's coming, and you'll only find it here. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is far from over. This is Spillera, where no secret stays buried, no betrayal stays hidden, and no truth can be silenced forever. No truth can be silenced forever.